Now, the Boko Haram insurgency in West Africa is keeping more than 1 million children from attending school. The UN Children's Agency, UNICEF, fears a lack of education will fuel further radicalism in and around Nigeria. Over 2,000 schools are closed across Nigeria, Cameroon, Chad, and Niger, while hundreds of others have been attacked, looted, or set on fire by Boko Haram jihadists. UNICEF says the number of children forced to flee Boko Haram's insurgency in Nigeria and neighboring countries has now reached 1.4 million. Around 500,000 were displaced in the last 5 months after a sharp rise in attacks by the Islamist jihadi group. While hundreds of schools in northeast Nigeria have reopened in recent months, insecurity and fear of violence are preventing many teachers from resuming classes, and it's also discouraging parents from sending their children back to school. The largest concentration of internally displaced persons, including children, are in camps or host communities in Borno State capital Maiduguri, the birthplace of the insurgency.
If you can see the level of damage that Boko Haram is causing to our people, you wonder why are they doing this? Because there isn't any motive behind creating such mayhem on your own people.
While the Nigerian army has freed the last few towns still under some of Boko Haram control, internally displaced persons are reluctant to return home. Boko Haram has struck back with a renewed wave of raids and suicide bombings in which they have attacked targets in public places such as markets and places of worship. Meanwhile, aid agencies say the renewed terrorist group's attacks have created a major hunger crisis in Africa's Lake Chad region, with malnutrition reaching catastrophic levels in some areas. The World Food Programme is appealing for $16.3 million to deal with immediate needs in Chad, Niger, and Cameroon, where hundreds of thousands of people are displaced and 750,000 are going hungry.
The people here have fled the islands because they have seen the parents or their children being killed by Boko Haram, and they had no other option. Now they are here, they have nothing, and they need our support. WFP is here. We are providing food to about 2,000 people today, but the needs are growing and we need more and more support.
More than 50,000 people who normally fish and farm on fertile islands in Lake Chad had fled their homes in recent weeks following attacks by the militants who have massacred villages and looted crops and livestock. Boko Haram is mostly based in northeast Nigeria, but the militant group has this year intensified its campaign, setting up camps and launching attacks in neighboring Cameroon, Chad, and Niger in its drive to carve out an Islamist caliphate. While the majority of schools in northeast Nigeria have been able to resume classes, many classrooms are severely overcrowded, as some schools are still being used to house people who have been displaced and are seeking shelter from the conflict. Well, for more on the impact of Boko Haram on schools in West Africa, I'm joined by Aliyu Mustafa, Managing Editor of VOA's Hausa Service. Aliyu, welcome to Africa 54.
Thanks, Vincent.
Now, you speak to people on a daily basis in that region. How is it? What is the feeling like, not being able to send your kids to school?
You know, Vincent, the unfortunate thing about this very depressing situation is that it is not just areas where Boko Haram operates that are affected by this impact on education in Nigeria. The entire Nigerian nation is affected by this because you know there have been many attacks on dormitories, on hostels, in girls' schools, the Chibok situation you remember very well. People are not comfortable sending their kids far away from home and not being able to personally supervise these children. That's one.
You know, someone would imagine that, especially in the far-flung areas and where there are schools, perhaps the government will take soldiers, police to guard schools. Has there been anything like that?
No, there hasn't been, because it's not possible for the government to guard every single school there is in Nigeria, even within the northeastern region where Boko Haram is more active than other parts of the country. There are tremendous numbers of schools, and in most cases, people are used to just sending these kids to school and sleeping soundly, not worried about that.
It's supposed to be a safe place, you know.
Because they've been safe, but, you know, education generally has been totally messed up by this Boko Haram phenomenon because, like I said, even in places that are far away from the northern northeastern part of Nigeria, even in the southern part of Nigeria, because of the nature of the attacks that are launched against the schools. So the impact has been really, really negative.
Now, what makes it worse is that generally, especially in the north and northeast, the number of people going to school or kids going to school has always been, or not going to school has always been a kind of higher. So this has made it even worse, right?
Well, you know, already teachers have had complaints. There have been many strikes by teachers, by staff, by employees in the educational sector. That was even before the Boko Haram phenomenon, came. So the emergence of Boko Haram situation has just worsened the situation, really.
Do you get a sense that the government is really bothered by this and is doing something about it?
I believe the government is seriously bothered by it and is doing as much as it could, but it's not enough.
Yes, and in terms of the idea that actually so many of the kids who may not go to school could be radicalized, is that something you buy into?
That is something that is very possible. Remember, Vincent, this whole Boko Haram is a domestic issue. The militants are Nigerians most of the time. They are people that people grew up with. The soldiers fighting them are probably neighbors or classmates or old friends, and they find themselves fighting each other. When it is an internal situation, it is really a horrible situation. As far as doing something about it, maybe it's not enough for the government alone to be relied upon to do as much as it can. The community, the people themselves must come, rise and do something about it themselves.
Thank you very much for
your
insights.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Vincent.
Well, Aliyu Mustafa is the managing editor of the UA's Hausa service.